The consequences of fatigue were also highlighted on Air India Express flight India X-ray 812 on the 22nd of May 2010 from Dubai to Mangalore.
Start switches.
Continuous.
MCP.
Set.
Transponder.
1300 set.
Cabin.
Secure.
It's quite clear that our ability to concentrate, to do complicated maths, for example, or to understand a piece of written text varies on a circadian basis. The mental abilities of the brain are geared by the body clock. Therefore, if the body clock is driving the brain to its nighttime low, of course, when you're asleep, normally you don't need your brain to be functioning in terms of cognition and reaction times and what have you. If the body clock's forcing the brain that low at a time when you actually are awake and you're trying to perform a particular task, then you're not going to be able to perform that task at all well. We understand it from the point of view there about thinking and memory and reaction times, but actually it's a bigger issue. It's not simply that we have a clock only in the brain. In fact, just about every major one of our bodily organs also has its clock. So the way in which our body operates as a 24-hour machine is compromised. I say it's not just our ability to think and concentrate and react to things, it's also how the heart pumps blood around the body, how our digestive system produces enzymes in anticipation of digesting a meal. The function of the lungs changes massively over the 24-hour cycle. If the clocks in those areas are not properly synchronized one to another, then our whole physiology becomes inappropriate. And in the long term, it can lead to major diseases, most obviously metabolic illness, which is very prevalent in long-term rotational shift workers.
The flight departed Dubai at 2:36 hours IST. The takeoff, climb and cruise were uneventful. The cockpit voice recorder, the CVR, indicates there was no conversation between the two pilots for the first 1 hour and 40 minutes. The cockpit voice recorder also confirms that the captain was asleep, with intermittent sounds of snoring and deep breathing for most of the cruise.
Express India 812, position Mesan at 25, maintaining flight level 370, Nitix 42, Osiri next.
The circadian low happens to everybody. It occurs between roughly 03 and 06 in the morning. So for a period of 3 hours, your reactions become sluggish, your body temperature falls, and performance generally isn't as good as it is during the day. Now clearly, if you're driving a lorry at that time, or flying an aircraft at that time, or piloting a ship at that time, there are potential implications for safety, and that needs to be considered very carefully when drafting legislation.
Do you want your tea and...
Yes, please. No, I don't feel like eating anything.
The aircraft first came in contact with the Mangalore area control at 05:32:52 hours, flying at 37,000 feet. The captain is sleeping. As the aircraft flies into the rising sun, the captain wakes up and puts his headset back on. Nothing is said between the two pilots. The captain doesn't ask for any updates on the flight progress. The first officer provides the captain with the weather conditions at their destination airfield, Mangalore, and information about the approach at which runway they will be landing on. Despite the first officer informing the captain he is not familiar with the approach they've been asked to do by air traffic control, the first officer receives no briefing from the captain. The captain may be technically awake, but how alert is he?
The weather captain. It's point 025 DME, then DME to the left. Radar not available, but I don't know what to do. It's 0.5.
What?
At 80 miles from Mike Lima.
Mangalore Airport has an elevated runway on top of a hill. Air India Express has made it a special requirement that only the captain may carry out takeoffs and landings at this airport. Despite the captain's fatigued state, it is he who has to carry out the approach and landing.
812 is now 77 DME inbound, sir, requesting descent.
The Mangalore radar was unserviceable that day, requiring the crew to navigate the aircraft to the runway manually.
Descending 7,000 feet, leaving 370 now. Express India 812.
When the aircraft leaves its cruising level of 37,000 feet and begins its descent into Mangalore, it's commenced the descent later than usual. This is something an alert crew would have easily dealt with and corrected in the descent to ensure the aircraft achieved the correct descent profile. But the captain's actions indicate he's not as alert as he should be, and the aircraft remains too high.
812 descending out of level 295.
Express India 812, control, roger. Report 50 miles inbound to Mike Lima.
We are 50 miles 812.
Roger.
Transition 100.
10 minutes further into the descent, the aircraft remains high on the approach, when finally the captain takes the drastic step of lowering the undercarriage early.
210, gear down.
Lowering the undercarriage generates a lot of drag. The captain hopes that this action will increase the rate of descent, as the aircraft is still too high.
Cabin and galley is secure. ILS your side.
Approximately 9 miles from runway 24, the aircraft intercepts the guidance information from the Instrument Landing System, the ILS. The ILS is a ground-based approach system using radio signals providing precision guidance to the runway for an approaching aircraft. Both pilots are provided with visual indications showing them if the aircraft is high, low, left or right of the required approach profile. Today, the ILS would have clearly indicated to both pilots the aircraft was too high and well above the recommended approach profile.
10. Wait a minute.
Just after 6 o'clock, 4 minutes from landing, as the aircraft starts to line up with the runway's extended centerline, the captain starts the process for extending the wing flaps. This enables the aircraft to reduce speed to the final approach speed for landing. But the aircraft remains too high on the approach, yet this has not been discussed or even mentioned between the pilots.
Okay.
Level out.
Flaps 25. 0.5 DME. 1230. Flaps 40.
When the final stage of the landing flaps are extended, the aircraft is still too high. It should be much lower.
Landing checklist.
Landing checklist. Engine start switches.
Continuous.
Speed brake.
Armed.
Landing gear.
Down.
Flaps.
40 green lights.
40 green light.
With the landing checklist complete, the aircraft remains excessively high on the approach. In fact, just 69 seconds from touchdown, the aircraft is 1,500 feet higher than it should be on a normal approach. Now the first officer speaks out for the first time.
It's too high.
2,500.
Runway, straight down.
Oh my god. Okay.
Go around.
Wrong localizer.
There.
Flight path.
Sink rate.
Go around!
Sink rate.
Captain! Unstabilized!
At 1,000 feet, the aircraft is still too high and above the correct approach profile. This is called an unstabilized approach. The Air India Express standard operating procedures clearly tells pilots that a go-around should be flown when an approach becomes unstabilized. But the captain did not follow company operating procedures, despite the numerous calls to do so by the first officer.
Express India 812, confirm established.
Sink rate.
Affirmative.
Sink rate.
Affirmative, 812.
Go up. Go up.
Wind calm, runway 24. Clear to land.
Go up. Go.
None of the passengers realized just how dangerous the situation was becoming.
Then 812.
Sink rate. Sink rate. 40, 30, 20, 10.
The aircraft touches down over a mile past the beginning of runway 24, with only 2,800 feet remaining before the end of the paved surface to stop the aircraft.
Go around!
We don't have runway left.
Speed 1.